Hi everyone, my name's Steve Necrology, or Necrology for short. It's actually kind of an odd name for me, but hey, who cares? This isn't about social greetings, this is about comics! Well, more specifically, the review of anthro or furry webcomics, whichever you prefer. Now, speaking of webcomics, today we'll be looking at an anthro comic called Slightly Damned by Chew. Now, I don't actually know her real name, but that's what she prefers to be called. Now, for those of you who have never heard of this comic, sit back, relax, and I hope that this review will give you an informed decision as to whether or not you should check out this comic. If you have heard of it, then please don't hate me if I'm too criticizing. I'm just trying to bring out an honest review here. Alrighty, so, the story of Slightly Damned starts off with the death of a Jackay, or Jackay, however the hell you pronounce the name, who is sort of an anthro, weasel, ferret type thing known as Rhea Snaketail. Upon her death, she is confronted by Death himself, who for some reason looks oddly like a weird dragon thingy, but anyway, in judgment, Death takes a look at Rhea's past life and realizes that while she wasn't necessarily a good person in life, she was also not a very evil person either. With not belonging in heaven or hell, or even purgatory, Death decides to put her on a boat to the Ring of the Slightly Damned, which is basically a place of rejected/forgotten demons. Upon entering the ring, we are introduced to a bunch of funny and mysterious characters. Buwaro, the lovable idiot demon, and his mysterious sister, Sakido. Now, there is also his brother Uratu, which is basically this gigantic freaking husky creature thing with huge fucking claws, but he doesn't really live in the ring, so you only see him once or twice throughout the whole comic. Now, there are many more characters and even deeper stories within this comic, such as the war between the angels and demons, and a little romance between two of the main characters. But I'm not gonna spit that much for you. Go and read it yourself, you lazy bastards. But I will say that the story itself is a heartwarming, funny, and in all, quite entertaining thing to read. Though there are a few gaps and confusing scenes, like Rhea's unexplained Last Airbender Earth powers, but other than that, despite the few flaws, the story and characters have a nice flow to it and seem to stick with what is originally given. All in all, the story and characters are original, clever, funny, and an absolute pleasure to read. Now, the art style, despite that it seems slightly mediocre in the beginning, is actually quite pleasing to the eye and has a sort of Japanese manga kind of theme, and it seems to pull it off quite nicely. Though there are the occasional scenes where the strips look a bit too blotched or a bit messy or the backgrounds just seem a bit underdrawn. However, with time, as the comic progresses over the years, these small issues seem to almost disappear entirely. Also, though it could also just be me, over the course of the 7 years that this comic has been around, the art style has changed only slightly for the better. And I don't mean this in any negative way possible, since most of the character drawings and backgrounds look just as good, if not better, than they did 7 years ago. This definitely shows that Chew put a lot of effort into making this comic look good, so great work, Chew! Now, with a comic that has this much praise in characters, story, and art style, you'd think that the community would be just as awesome, right? Well, sad to say the community isn't all that friendly or that fun to talk to, especially if you're a noob or if you in any way go against their carved-in-stone rules. The attitude of the comic, especially in the IRC chat, seems to be that of pissed off or just generally moody trolls. Yes, you heard me right, trolls. Who seem to treat noobs who talk too much or ask quote-unquote stupid questions with utter disregard, much like your favorite middle school or high school. So yeah, if you're looking to chat with these guys, which by all means have at it, I do have a few survival tips to help you survive/thrive in the chat community. Tip number 1. Speak only when spoken to, at least for the first few days until they get used to your presence. Tip number 2, do not start a discussion or say anything stupid unless it is relevant to what they were saying. They will seriously eat you alive. And finally, tip number 3, if you have any spelling/grammar issues, then get a freaking dictionary. Seriously, one of these rules is good spelling and grammar, which personally I don't mind, trying to keep it clean. But from my experience of using text chat, like on Facebook or MSN within the chat, I was yelled at for quote-unquote butchering the English language. Anyway, if you have found a way to establish and settle yourself within the community, whether it be the forums or the chat, and you're happy with where you are, then I really hope you have fun chatting with your friends. Also, this is how I experienced the comic. Your experience will likely be much different than mine, and hopefully you'll have a lot better luck than me in the community. All in all, I think Slightly Damned is a fantastic read and is sure to be enjoyed by anyone and everyone, even if you're not a fan of the anthro genre. It's got a good little bit of everything in terms of story, and has a pretty yet simplistic world for an art style. If only the community was this good. And so I hereby bequeath Slightly Damned a nice 8 out of 10 and give the title a fun-filled, spectacular read for any kind of reader. Definitely check this one out. I guarantee it's worth every minute of your time. So thank you for watching, and before we go, I'd just like to quickly say that every time at the end of this show, I will be reading questions that I will handpick from the comments in the last video, and read them on the show. Now, these can be questions of any topic of any kind, so don't be shy. Ask anything you like. If you want a question read on the show, simply put question, colon, and then just type in what question you want. It just makes it easier for me to pick them out from all the other comments. This also goes for comic suggestions too. Just put suggestions and the colon, and then the comic you want to suggest. So get those keyboards typing. Do it. Do it now. Oh, and speaking of questions, our first one comes from Necrology. Wait a minute, that's me. And he asks, when will this show update? Well, right now, every Monday, unless my internet connection says otherwise. Well, that's it. Happy reading, guys.